Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Season 5 begins!
Nice. The season of the audience. This is going to be a good one. Because this is not a forgotten gem.
Today we are doing Mike Field's favorite movie.
No, that's incorrect.
How do you let some guy talk to you like that?
You never once did I smile. Never once did I laugh. While I watched this movie with my mouth agape, I could actually feel my soul leave my body. Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. As you may know already, each episode we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it's because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. But this season, we're not picking the movies. You, the audience, have selected our films. We're going to discuss what we love, like, or maybe not like about your movie. But we thank you for sharing your passion for the film. And as always, we recommend that everyone revisits the movie we're talking about this week. You never know. You could discover your own forgotten gem. If you enjoy our podcast, please feel free to let everyone know by rating, reviewing, subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to this podcast.
Episode 9.
Woo!
I know.
Audience choice.
Exciting. Yeah, just exciting.
It's exciting.
Good times.
It's a very
good
exciting.
times.
I will say it's kind of like playing Russian roulette because I know we picked a lot of movies purposely from this audience choice that I know nothing about.
True.
So it's just like spinning the chamber and just going, what's happening?
Well, we also tried to pick movies from people that have, commented a lot or just kind of supported us a lot and online and stuff like that. So that was the other reason too. But yeah, so you're absolutely right. Like a couple episodes ago, Uptown Girls was a tough one. That was
Uptown Girls was the toughest one so far that I've had to do.
For here?
For this
show.
I can't think of anything else other than Uptown Girls.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife Jody about, she had just listened as we're recording this, Night of the Hunter just came out, which is, so we're in towards the middle of April or back end of April, and I was talking about just we try to be not like too critical. We try not to how we talk about movies, with some respect. But then she's like, no, yeah, absolutely. Then I'm like, yeah, but then we did Uptown Girls, so I don't know how that's gonna play.
Yeah, Uptown Girls was really tough.
It was a tough one to do. But you know what? We're not talking about that today. We're talking about this is an independent film, the movie from 2003 called 11:14, which is like the time 11 o'clock.
11:14 p.m.
Yes, p.m. Exactly.
Also known as 23:14.
Exactly.
In military.
If you were into that, this was suggested. This was suggested to us by Chris Frodell. I'm sorry, Chris. I hope I said your last name correctly. He is from the Arguing with Myself blog. You can find him on Twitter as at Arguing W Myself. If that is something that you want to follow, I believe he's on Instagram and he's on Facebook as well. Chris is somebody who I want to say found us through his friendship with Andrew Morgan from the Nomcast, but this is not your show, Andrew, so get lost. Yeah, so Chris is kind of like, when he comments a lot, so we wanted to kind of say thank you and take his movie suggestion.
Absolutely.
I had vaguely heard of this movie and never watched it, and I could figure out why when we go through it a little bit. But I just want to, before we go there and before Chris talks about why he chose this movie, I just wanted to read his Twitter biopic thing, so you guys all know what it is. So it's Lights, Camera, and Argue. I love TV and film so much so that I can't talk to someone without referencing a quote, actor, or film. This is my outlet. So he has a blog. Check it out if you'd like. Arguewithmyself.com, I want to say. If I got that wrong, I apologize. But why don't you introduce Chris?
All right, Chris, why don't you take it away? Let us know why you chose 11:14 and why you think it was a forgotten film.
Hi, this is Chris from Arguing with Myself, a film appreciation blog where I write reviews on the movies and television I watch. I also create and promote the things I find entertaining, which brings me to the topic at hand. When the Mikes asked their audience to curate Season 5 of Forgotten Cinema, my head was swimming with possibilities. But out of all of them, I'm glad they chose 2003's 11:14. The film came and went, and it fell through the cracks. A true forgotten gem. It was at my local video store, which was going out of business, The movie was cheap enough. I took the chance. The only one I recognized on the cover at the time was Patrick Swayze. Hilary Swank wasn't really a household name until $1 Million Baby the following year. And the story structure was unique with 5 seemingly unrelated characters meeting at one moment in time. I love when a puzzle comes together. So I picked it up, and I didn't regret it. Why do I think it's forgotten? It wasn't a big studio release. Hilary Swank was one of 10 producers, which is a red flag. Dark comedies like this are usually a tough sell to audiences. The names attached weren't a huge draw. As I said before, Patrick Swayze was the main star of it. And at that time, he wasn't really, getting the draw he would around the 80s. And sometimes the audiences don't want to think too much with their films. And this one, you have to pay attention. But I like it. I hope you like it. And I hope the audience likes this. It shouldn't be forgotten. More people should know about it. And hopefully with this episode, more people will. Thanks again, guys. And I'm going to keep on listening as long as you keep on putting out. Thank you.
All right.
Interesting.
Okay. That's good points.
That's very interesting. So I have been tasked with these movie synopsis today. I'm just reading this from Google. It doesn't have any credit, so I don't care. A series of storylines ranging from bizarre to deadly runs on parallel tracks before coming to a head at 11:14 p.m. In a fairly typical American suburb, Buzzy and Duffy are arrested and find themselves in a police car that responds to a car accident involving Jack. Meanwhile, some local youths are rabble-rousing, oh boy, and a teenage girl is planning a romantic rendezvous. Each is about to find their lives touched by misfortune.
I don't like that synopsis, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, let's get into it. So like I said, the movie's 11:14. Now it has a runtime of 86 minutes, so it's a nice, tight, short movie.
I did like that. Yep.
I appreciated that as well. It's rated R, had a production budget of $6 million. Here's where it gets tricky. This did not have a theatrical release. It was in film. It was in festivals. You probably found the release date of, let's see. You probably found the release date of October 15th, 2003.
No.
What did you find?
That's what I was going to bring up. While I saw 2003 as a release date, I actually found the release date of Friday, August 20th, 2004.
Yeah, no, I did not find that. This had no release date. I looked. It was not in theaters.
This release date I found on, if not IMDb, then on its Wikipedia page, maybe.
This is what I have. October 15, 2003 at the Hollywood Film Festival. April 2nd, 2004 at Sonoma International Film Festival. April 2nd, 2005 at the Wisconsin Film Festival. And then August 12th, 2005 in San Francisco. Its DVD premiere was October 11th, 2005.
2005?
Yeah. So it came out, well, also remember, there's for some movies, there was probably like a year and a half, 2-year gap between, well, quote unquote theatrical release and home video VHS DVD release, because they're still doing VHSs at this time. This is towards the end.
True, yeah.
But no, I did not have this in theaters at all, so I don't know where you're getting your info.
That's not necessarily theaters. It's just the release date I got.
I will say this: that it has a worldwide gross of $3.8 million.
I figured it out.
But
I got my release date. It's the Italy release date.
Okay.
I just didn't pay attention.
It's which release date? The Italy
release date.
So what I was going to say was it has a worldwide taken of $3.8 million. So it obviously came out overseas, but domestically it did not come anywhere. So, well, regardless of that, production company was Media 8 Entertainment and was distributed by New Line Cinema. But now that we're going to say its release date was, so let's do a little bit something different.
Okay.
So its release date was Tuesday, October 11th, 2005, home video. So let's talk to you about what came out on DVD that week. We're going to do it that way.
All right.
So on October 11th, you had Hot Tension, or Hot Tension, High Tension. It's the French horror film.
Okay.
Kicking and Screaming, which is the Will Ferrell movie, which I kind of like. Kingdom of Heaven. Unleashed. That's Jet Li, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Kingdom of Heaven, I remember liking, but being really boring.
Yes. Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. We're both fans. Me and you and everyone we know. So that came out on DVD. Well, those are some of the highlighted ones that came out on DVD on October 11th of that year, 2005. The week before, you had the Amityville Horror, the Ryan Reynolds movie. The Interpreter, the Nicole Kidman thriller.
Also,
And then you had the special edition of Star Trek Nemesis. I figured I'd put that in there for you.
Ooh, I bought that. It's also not a good movie.
And then you had on the 18th of October, which was the week after, you had Batman Begins.
Good movie.
I don't need to.
I don't know if you were waiting for response.
The New Groove edition of The Emperor's New Groove, the Family Fun edition of Fern Gully: The Last Rainforest, Land of the Dead, and then the special edition of the Tarzan animated movie. So a lot of kid stuff that week. A lot of kid stuff.
A lot of Disney stuff at the same time.
Well, I mean, is Fern Gully Disney?
Fern Gully's not, but you said
the Emperor's New Groove
and Tarzan.
The New Groove edition. That's just a re-release.
Oh yeah, so it's Tarzan. You're saying.
Yeah. So these are DVD releases. So look at this DVD stuff that 1114 had to go up against. Directed and written by Greg Marks. He has done a lot. He's done The Echelon Conspiracy, which is, I believe it was either before this or right after. I think it was right after. And then he has one more credit that I guess it's in development. You Don't Love Me Yet, which he's doing as well. Music by Clint Marshall. He has done The Fountain, Black Swan, Smoking Aces, and Moon. He does a lot of Aronofsky films, most of the Aronofsky films. If you don't know who Darren Aronofsky is, he's responsible for Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, The Fountain, tons of movies.
He's also done Futurama episodes.
Oh, excellent. Well, Futurama's a good show.
Exactly.
Cinematography by Shane Hurlburt, who did the cinematography for Semi-Pro, The Babysitter, Into the Blue, and Terminator Salvation.
Which is the only good part of Terminator Salvation was the cinematography.
And when Christian Bale yelled at Hurlburt for being in the shot. He's the one that
is he the one that got yelled at?
Yeah, he apologized and all that. That's kind of water under the bridge. But yeah, in that video that's out there on YouTube where he's screaming, when Bale's screaming, he's yelling at Hurlburt.
Hurlburt did a good job.
Edited by two people, Dan Lebental and Richard Nord. Mr. Lebental has done Very Bad Things, which this movie reminded me of it. Iron Man, Ant-Man, he's done a ton of the Marvel movies. Not the big ones, not like Avengers, but he's done most of the other Marvel movies. And Richard Nord was nominated for an Oscar for editing The Fugitive, awesome movie. And he also did Passenger 57, which I like Passenger 57, but I think if I rewatched it, I might not like it, so I don't want to rewatch it.
I haven't seen it since I was like...
It's a long time
I want to watch it again.
Yeah, I don't know if I do, because I don't want to sully it.
Do you think it's that bad now?
No,
I don't remember it being too cheesy.
The only thing I remember for it is the line that everyone remembers, which is always Bet on Black.
Yeah. You say that a lot.
Because I like that line. You want to play roulette? Always bet on black. I like that. I like that line. I wish I could use it, but I can't. He also more recently has edited the Nancy Drew movie, the new one, the Nancy Drew and the Hidden Staircase, which is actually not that bad for like a kind of like a young.
You
adult.
do love your young sleuth detective.
I do. If you have noticed, I wrote 2 books.
What?
Anyway,
what books are
I'm not going to do that. Produced by a lot of people. I will say that because Hilary Swank, who's in this movie, actually also produced this as well. But the main producers are Beau Flynn and John Morrissey. Flynn has done San Andreas, Requiem for a Dream, which we just talked about, House of Yes. House of Yes is a really good movie. You should check it out. And John Morrissey is on American History X, Havoc, and always the one that we'll probably always do coming up is Booty Call.
Beau Flynn, I noticed, does a lot of Rock movies. He works with The Rock a lot.
Yeah, more recently.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, he did Rampage. I didn't want to put Rampage in there because then it's just in Skyscraper. It started to become.
It would just be a Rock.
Yeah. So it's what's funny is that this has a big cast, but these are the only people in the movie. There is nobody else in this movie except the cast that I'm about to give you. So you have Henry Thomas, who plays Jack. Henry Thomas is from E.T. I hope everyone knows that. Legends of the Fall and Dr. Sleep, which I didn't realize that. So I want to watch Dr. Sleep.
He's the bartender.
Yes. Barbara Hershey plays Norma. She is nominated for an Oscar for The Portrait of a Lady. She's also in Black Swan, Hoosiers, which I love, and Beaches, which probably everyone knows about. Clark Gregg as Officer Hannigan. Everyone knows him as Agent Coulson from Agent of the S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Marvel movies. He was also in State of Maine. He wrote Butler's movie that Butler hates, What Lies Beneath.
Clark Gregg did?
Yeah, he wrote that.
Oh, Clark.
What?
I don't like that movie at all.
That's not Clark's fault, and it's not a bad movie. So we talked about this. That'll be on Fight Club. Hilary Swank plays Buzzy. She has a 2-time Academy Award winner for Boys Don't Cry and $1 Million Baby. She's more recently in Logan Lucky and The Hunt. I recommend Logan Lucky.
Logan Lucky's great.
It is a good movie. Sean, I'm going to say his name wrong. Sean Hatosy? I don't know. What's how you say that last name?
Sean Hattasy.
Hattasy? Okay. Sean Hattasy plays Duffy. You've probably known him from The Faculty and Alpha Dog, but he's also on Animal Kingdom, the TV show, and Southland, which was probably like 10 years ago.
10 years ago already, Southland?
Well, maybe.
Wow.
I mean, it started. I'm saying it started. Rachael Leigh Cook plays Sherry. She's all that. Josie and the Pussycats, which is one on our list. And she also on Get Carter. She also on a couple episodes Psych out there. If you guys like Psych, my wife does, so that's why I had to put that in there. Patrick Swayze.
A lot of Hallmark movies now.
Well, you know,
she actually does a lot of voiceover.
Those pay the bills. Yep, absolutely. Patrick Swayze plays Frank. Johnny from Dirty Dancing, Roadhouse, Point Break, Ghost, Stark Sands, who I thought was Jesse Eisenberg when I first saw it.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, fat Jesse Eisenberg. Not that he's fat. Jesse Eisenberg is really thin, but then I was like, I have to look him up, and it wasn't him. So I was like, that's not him, but it looks like him. He plays Tim from Flags of Our Fathers, Inside Llewyn Davis, and The Post. Colin Hanks plays Mark from Orange County, the TV show Life in Pieces. He's actually really good in the TV show Fargo. He's in the first season, if you haven't caught that. Ben Foster plays Eddie. Hell or High Water, awesome movie. Warcraft, Hostiles, and 310 to Yuma, which is a movie that we have done already in season 2.
Season 2,
3. 3?
I'm pretty sure it's 3. I'm pretty sure we're doing.
Check it out. 310 to Yuma. We've talked about it. We love it. Ben Foster's in.
No, you're right. It's 2. I'm sorry.
Whatever. Just look it up. Blake Heron, it plays Aaron. He's from Shiloh. We Were Soldiers in Wind River. Blake Heron has recently passed away, so rest in peace. Jason Segel as Leon from the TV show How I Met Your Mother. The Muppet Movie, Knocked Up, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then Rick Gomez as Kevin. He was in Band of Brothers, the TV show, Sin City, and then the TV show Justified. So, and like I said, big cast, but they're the only people in the movie.
No extras, no nothing.
Right. So and this is an indie, and we talked about already how it just got a DVD release, didn't come out in theaters. I would assume that's part of the reason why it's forgotten. And this movie feels like a movie that everyone read the script, they loved it, which Hilary Swank read the script and she latched onto it and was like, I want to play Buzzy. Buzzy was a male character.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's the character that quote unquote spoke to me. And then of course Marcus rewrote it because you would if Hilary Swank,
she's probably the selling point of your movie.
Right. If she's going to be like, listen, I want to be in this movie. Can you write what you say? No. That's how you get your movie made. But you have to understand, like I did 2 producers. When you watch the movie, there are 8 executive producers so there's 10 producers. So basically there's 8 people that gave money. And then there's 2 people that gave money, but also ran the production. So this got a lot of money from a lot of different sources. And it felt like a movie that it's an LA movie and they just tried to get all up and coming talent, or some like Patrick Swayze and Barbara Hershey, Henry Thomas, or people that you put in there that maybe have 3 days work, 4 days work.
Henry Thomas is going to be done in a night and a half.
So then you have all these young stars in there that, even Hilary Swank stuff is probably a couple days. And you have all these young stars in there that are just, doing a movie that's kind of an indie darling kind of thing. That's what you're trying to go for. It just feels like it's a series of vignettes that are tied together,
which is very LA independent film.
Yes.
The vignette idea, especially in the early 2000s.
Yes. That's let's start there. My first thought when I was watching this movie, we were watching it together. When I was watching this movie, was it feels like a 90s indie film. The look of it, the shots, the overall image quality, how it's grainy, it's blown out, just the storyline. That felt like we were watching an early 90s film. And you're only 10 years removed from the 90s, the 1993 or 2003. So I take it back. You're like 4 years removed, but you know what I mean? That's what it felt like.
I didn't get that.
You didn't get that? Okay.
I got early 2000s independent film.
Really?
That darkness, that streetlight look. If this was an early 90s film, this story could absolutely have still been done. I feel like your soundtrack would have been twangier, and it would have been against a blown out white sky kind of look. It wouldn't take place at night.
What do you think?
Because you wouldn't
Brick?
be able to. Yeah, because you wouldn't be able to film at night. You're getting cheaper cameras. And this is early 90s. Like, I felt like the setting at night puts it squarely in that 2000 space. Although you can say any movie from 1992 or 3 to 2006 that's like an independent first-time filmmaker's movie is going to have a similar plot to this.
Right.
It's just kind of their jam.
It got $6 million. I mean,
I'm not saying the script was bad. If I was a first-time actor, I'd look at this and go, there's a lot of meat in every character in there's got something to do, which is nice. Even the small roles of like the ambulance drivers, you get something.
Here's my thing. There's stuff in this movie that works.
Mm-hmm.
And there are little segments of conversations or plot points that are okay. That's pretty cool. But with the exception of the scene inside the convenience store between Buzzy and Duffy, That was the only scene I found engaging. He wanted to rob the place. She can't lose that job, and just kind of negotiating what they were going to do. I was more engaged within that scene.
It was the only complete scene.
Right.
But I think that's why. But
in terms of everything on the whole, like the one question I had towards the end of this movie was, what is this story about? What is not that a movie has to have this, but like, what's the lesson here? Like, what's the writer trying to say? Like, and I couldn't come up with anything. I can just come up like, oh, this is really cool stuff, and it's intertwined together in these people's lives, and look how everything happens. But I was stuck there going, but why? Why should I sit down for an hour and a half to watch this?
What's the theme? What
am I getting from this? Yeah, that everyone sucks.
At first, I have probably a similar issue, because at first I was like, all right, so the theme is, don't drink and drive.
Really?
Well, because the first one, when Jack's driving, he's drunk, gets hit, makes the situation worse. The morons in the car.
Yeah, we'll get to them.
They're drinking, they hit somebody, make the situation worse. So at first it was like, all right, those are the first two vignettes. Clearly that's the theme. And then you get the rest of it becomes like this murder thing. And it's just like, maybe that's not the theme. And so now I don't get what the lesson I'm supposed to take away from this is. But when you're doing a smaller film and an independent film, a lot of first-time directors don't try to put that in there, because they learn from film school to be more artistic and experimental. And when you learn that in film class, when I learned that in film class anyway, it's like, you don't need a theme, you don't need a story, which flies in the face of when you go to your writing teacher or your English teacher, when you learn to write scripts, and they're like, you need a theme throughout the whole thing. But filmmaking is a different thing, and where they tell you not to. So they kind of flies in the face of each other. And I feel like people coming out of film school go, I just want to be experimental. Because that's like half of my graduating class, both in the film and acting departments. We're just like, what if we just did this? But it's just the feeling of it, just the emotion. So it's like, so you don't want a story, you don't want a thematic through line, you just want the emotion. It's just like, that's only part of a movie. And I feel like this movie, while I liked was 80 something minutes, I would have liked 100 minutes, maybe. Still shorter than 2 hours, but put some meat on the bones, maybe.
I get what you're saying, because as you were explaining it, I was thinking about movies that are similar to this in terms of non-linear storytelling or kind of reveals within the story, like what you think happened, which the movie does not do. But like Very Bad Things, 2 Days in the Valley. I'm trying to think of something else that
I think there's a movie called Surveillance that's similar to this.
But those movies have, like, Very Bad Things is about guys that make a mistake and they try to cover up that mistake.
Right.
So that's about the consequences of their actions. I don't get that here. What I just get, and what's going to happen. You already know about 3 or 4 vignettes in how it's going to end up. Patrick Swayze's character finds the dead boyfriend.
Right.
He thinks the daughter did it, which is Sherry. He tries to cover it up. You've already figured out that. Like, I didn't, when Henry Thomas is driving in the beginning and the body lands on the car, it's thrown over, I didn't get the sense I was supposed to think that he got hit, but
that body definitely.
I knew that he already got hit, that somebody threw the body over. Like, it was already revealed to me.
I don't think you were supposed to think it was a deer either. Right. I think you're supposed to know it's a body, and that makes you curious about what's going to happen as you go on.
But Henry Thomas's body hit the guy. He didn't think that the body came from the overpass.
Right, because he was so drunk.
Right, but we saw that. So should us see, because I saw the guy, I saw the silhouette of the dude up top.
Right.
If we didn't see that, my thing is with a movie like this, when you have vignettes and you're trying to reveal the time, the what's happening throughout the night, there should be some kind of surprise or some kind of reveal within the storyline where you're like, oh, like, let's say we see the person getting hit. In the beginning, you saw basically Sherry's getting hit. You knew it was her.
Yes.
Immediately, maybe the next vignette in. But then you play off that. And maybe that's not the person that gets hit in the movie,
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Like, there's nothing like that.
I never really got the fact that they were going for a mystery. I think it was a fill in the blanks kind of a thing, more than just,
okay,
a whodunit.
So how about this? Why don't we take each vignette one by one? And just in and of itself.
Okay.
And I've already forgotten what the first one was.
The first one is Henry Thomas, is Jack's character.
He's driving and he's drunk.
I'm on my way back from Benny's. I'm almost home. You tell me where you are, I'll come get you. I wouldn't say I'm drunk. Hello? Are you still there? Okay.
Body's thrown over the overpass, which he doesn't think. He thinks he hit somebody. He tries to hide it, which I don't understand why you're trying to hide it.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I think,
everybody, that's another, that could be the theme is don't make things, is every character makes their life worse.
He's on the highway. And if you hit something on the highway, even if it's a deer, it's a person, you are driving on the highway.
You're not
going
supposed to be 55. Walking,
yeah. There should be somebody there.
Yeah.
Well, granted, he was drunk or he was drinking. So that's probably what shaded him to hide the body and all that stuff. But why put it in your trunk? Oh, anyways, regardless. So
that's classic indie cinema is to like cover up the body.
I know. And then you had the Barbara Hershey character. Oh, I'm just up the hill. And so the opening was okay. It wasn't really, I know you're supposed to be surprised or kind of jolted in this movie when the body lands on the top of the car. Like, oh my God, what's going on? But then it kind of just ended. Like the scene the vignette just ended.
It reminded me a bit of the Twilight Zone movie.
Okay.
With the Dan Aykroyd beginnings and endings, because it was kind of a smaller vignette that just bookends the film, where it doesn't necessarily have to be its own full story. On that, I got big vibes from that.
Okay.
Of just like, let's start with a small piece that's not necessarily the main chunk of the story. Because, I mean, you get his connection to everyone else later on, because the whole thing, I was like, Jack's really the only character that doesn't have a connection.
Until
and then toward the end, you got that phone call, which I feel like it's kind of tacked on. It's to show that they're all connected,
I guess. Here's the other thing. When he goes and chases after Jack, Buzzy and Duffy run out of the car.
Yeah, you get nothing about that.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to get caught.
That's the one thing about this film why I want it to have a few more minutes. Give me 10 more minutes to wrap things up. Like, I get you want to end the film at 11:14, right? But I don't think you need to. We get that the crash, everything comes together at 11:14. So at 11:14, make that when all the characters come together and you no longer have a vignette. And now you have a full movie for the last 10 minutes to wrap everything up.
Sure.
The morons going to the hospital with the with Eddie's penis.
He's talking about the three, I guess they're teenagers.
Eddie, Mark, and Tim.
They're teenagers, right?
They're definitely supposed to be teenagers. They're living with their parents.
Colin Hanks doesn't look like he's a teenager.
Colin Hanks is like,
he's in his
chunky in that movie.
He's a bigger dude. He's like 23, 24 in this, or 25. I think they're all around that same age.
They're all in their mid-20s, yeah.
But he had just done Orange County the year before that. So I believed him in college then. But like now he looked like he was 30. And then I'm thinking,
I'd believe him as a college senior.
But yeah,
this is a high school kid.
Is this what college seniors are doing?
No, he's a high school kid stealing his mom's car.
Yeah, and so he was hanging out of the window this entire time. And the window, obviously cuts off Ben Foster's penis.
Yep.
Which.
Holy shit, he's shot! No, man, his dick got.
Fuck me. We gotta get him to the hospital.
No. What do you mean, no, Eddie? Jesus, look at you. We have to go back and get it first. Eddie, you're bleeding pretty bad. Maybe we should just take you to the hospital.
I don't want to live like this. Please.
Which is awfully big when he goes to pick it up.
It was like
a hot dog.
It was like a half size of a hot dog. It wasn't a size of the hot dog. It was a chopped off sausage.
I don't know. They're gonna get caught too. I don't know. Did you like this movie? How about that?
I did.
Let me ask that.
I did. When I told you before, I was like, another, I thought this was going to be an Uptown Girl situation.
Right.
Because I started the movie. I wanted to make sure it would play. I just kind of skipped through it. And I was like, okay, this movie will play on my Xbox or whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. So I skipped ahead. And the scene that I pointed to was Ben Foster standing there having had his thing blown off or chopped. I didn't know at the time what it was. I didn't know at the time when I was streaming. I was like, ugh. And then I skipped to the end credits where the super independent 2000s rock song is going on through the credits, and I was just like, oh god. So then I watched it and I was like, you know what? I kind of like what they're doing here. And yes, it's not executed perfectly, but you look at Greg Mark's filmography and it's like, this was, I mean, he hasn't done much since, but this was also probably, he did something in college and we should have maybe looked that up, what he did that got him this attention.
He has a short he did. It was a short film.
Okay.
That's the credit before this.
Yeah. Which is how most people get started.
Oh, of course. No,
and then people glommed onto it. And for a first feature, it was pretty good. If this was somebody's, 10th feature, if this was made now,
okay, I
would not see it as favorably. And I'm not saying this is great. I'm just saying it is decent and it's got a lot of stuff in here that I like. Mm-hmm. But I understand all the negative things you're bringing to the table, and I have some negative notes as well. Like there are things about this movie that are not great and have been done many times before. And even though every independent director wants to do this vignette thing, not everyone, but it has been done with very similar storylines. It's almost always some kind of traffic accident, or it's almost always a traffic accident.
Right,
it's always almost outdoors, and it's always a vignette of different stories that lead to this accident. I mean, look at Crash.
Yeah.
That's probably the most famous example of it.
I think this movie is somewhere I read this movie is compared to Crash in terms of it's not a linear storytelling.
I don't think you cannot compare.
But Crash has a story. Crash has a theme.
Just like
absolutely.
Traffic
Yes.
has
a theme, and it's the same way.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only comment is I don't know what the theme is. And if somebody sat me down and said the theme is that people suck and bad things happen, okay, fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I just really couldn't grasp onto it when I was watching it. And
that would be my main problem with the film as well.
But the other thing is this movie, and granted, I had never seen this movie until 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about it. I remember hearing it when he said 11:14. I was like, oh, okay, I've heard that before but I never saw it. So I'm going off of 17 years, of seeing these movies since then.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen this already.
That's true.
And I've seen this done better. Now, that's not a negative against this movie. That's unfair for me to say that. But I've already seen this type of movie done well. So when I see it not done that well, I'm just kind of, all right. I'm not discounting like I said, I liked Hilary Swank in it. I like that scene within the convenience store.
I think all of the actors did a really good job. I thought the performances were all well done.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really, maybe Clark Gregg a little bit.
Well, he's got nothing to do. He's the cop.
He's got no meat on those bones, but everyone else was pretty decent. I mean, the ambulance guys also the same way with the cop they don't have
much to do.
A personal stake in anything.
I don't know if I was big on Rachael Leigh Cook in this movie. She was okay. I just not her in terms of her performance, but her character, the choices that what that type. You know what I mean? I don't know. Her
character was the shittiest of all people who kind of got this all going to begin with.
She started the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. That's what I'm doing here. Yeah, I guess because she has sex with her boyfriend in the graveyard. He gets killed, so she runs off because she
wants to set up Duffy for the
No,
murder.
You're right. She's starting it because her whole thing is that she's telling two guys that she's pregnant with their baby and she wants to have an abortion. So she's trying to get $500 out of each of them so she can have 1,000. And then she's going to run off with this Henry Thomas character, Jack, who I would assume is in his 40s. And they're going to go do what? They need $1,000 for what?
To move away.
Exactly. Where are they going?
He's probably got a crap job. He's always a drunk. But so maybe the theme is that, one bad choice can.
The guys in the van really have nothing to do with her story.
They don't. They get caught up in it. They're just douchebags who end up stuck in her bad choices. But that's like the whole thing is like they ripple. One bad choice ripples across a community.
Well, that goes to your point, and I meant to bring it up when you were talking about it in terms of how this story came to be. Like maybe you had mentioned that maybe Marx had developed this in film school, and it felt like that. This felt like a movie that had a bunch of different scenes that were workshopped in a class, and either they were already put together or they ended up becoming put together. Because I've written stuff like this. I've written stuff where I've had different short stories, and I was going to connect them with one through line, and they had, you know what I mean?
So do I.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting. when it's done well, it's really cool.
Sure.
No one doesn't like that coming together at the end. It's why the Avengers work so well, because everyone sees them separately and they come together and you get this big moment of, oh, that's cool. Like that's always really neat.
Sure.
But you're probably right. That's probably why it only has 11 characters. You write it in college thinking that if this is like you're going to be your final project, you don't want a lot of people.
Right.
And you're going to film late at night, so you're not going to have extras.
Right. Well, filming at night is going to pump up your budget because you're going to need lights, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
They filmed in California, but you're still shutting down streets, even because there's nobody on the street. These are the only people in the movie. There's no extras. There's no anything like that, which is probably a skeleton crew. It's not a big crew.
Right.
So the $6 million is going to the actors. It's going to the production budget. It's going to, I mean, you have people on this movie that, in terms of behind the screen, that are people that have done projects that are pros.
Right.
So you're paying for them because you have a first time director. So you're going to give him people that are going to put people around him that know what they're doing. I mean, if you got the editor from The Fugitive working on your, first film, you got to be pretty psyched about that because, he's an Oscar nominated editor. So we're basically, we're just kind of pontificating here. We don't know, obviously the nuts and bolts of all that, but still that's where a lot of the money goes to. And so you can only have, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13 characters. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 characters. And like, with the exception of, they probably all worked maybe a week. They probably had, there was no one person. Clark Gregg was probably in it a bunch of times, like was probably working like a 2-week, but everyone else was probably on a week. Yeah, absolutely. So there probably wasn't, they pop on, they leave. They probably forgot about it. They never heard of it again. And they're like, oh, that movie came out. Like, that's how it's done. That's how these type of movies are put together.
Yeah. Clark Gregg, Hilary Swank, Sean Hattasey, Patrick Swayze. They probably worked the most days out of it. Maybe Swayze. Rachael Leigh Cook as well.
Patrick Swayze with his padding, because he was not fat.
Oh,
they gave him padding to make him look like, obviously, because he was a father. He's, like give him that fatherly.
The whole time I'm looking
that father body, I guess. That
ain't Patrick Swayze.
I'm looking at
that
him,
sandwich,
and then he's walking, and then he's like, I see him hunched over. I'm like, is that a pillow? Like, it just looked like, it didn't look like, fat. It looked like a pillow.
Right.
It's like, all right, okay, good for you.
I do like the dog stuff, although I can't figure out the dog's name.
Oh,
at first I thought it was Molly, and then I was like, no, it's not Molly because it's a boy. And then I was like, wait, is it Mulligan? Is it called a Mulligan?
I don't know. I can't remember. I just remember that he was making him an unwitting accomplice.
I like when the donut gets on the car and he stops the car, the first thing the dog does, I'm like, oh, your dog's gonna run away. Nope, the dog's going on the hood for that donut.
I don't know any dog that would go on the hood.
No, I thought that was funny though. And then when the dog runs off with the shirt and he thinks it's a game, so he keeps stopping, I'm like, that's very dog.
It's very retriever.
Yeah.
Mulligan, get over here. Mulligan, come. Mulligan, come here now. Mulligan, come now.
What else jumped at you that maybe you weren't into, or kind of, because you obviously I think we're coming from two different sides of this. I am coming from like, yeah, it's okay, I didn't love it, and you're coming from like, oh, I really liked it, but it's not that great. You know what I mean? We're coming from both sides of the
right
middle here.
But I think that my trepidation to watch it to begin with, my fear of this being another really bad movie, made me appreciate that it wasn't the garbage pile.
It wasn't Uptown Girls.
But I do. One of the things that really stood out, like the vignette thing, always gets me because I do really like those kind of things. And we want to talk. You want me to bring up another negative?
No, I'm looking for a talking point.
Just a talking point. The cinematography I really enjoy. Like we talk about how it's
really.
You're talking about a $6 million budget.
Yep.
First time director.
Yep.
All night shots. I thought it was not bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's the greatest thing ever, but I've seen first time directors like movies that take place at night that are way worse. And I thought, it's kind of TV-ish, I guess, in the way it's like not the highest of quality.
I got indie film.
Worked. Yeah. Everything's lit where it's like there are some scenes at night that are lit that's like, where are you getting that light from? Where's that light coming from? Especially when Like I said, I like the scene where he's chasing his dog. Patrick Swayze's chasing his dog, but half the things that are lit, it's like, why are these woods lit? Where's that spotlight coming from? Or why is this sewer tunnel that's got no light all of a sudden got light shining through it?
Right.
But I was able to view the scenes, and it wasn't overly grainy and crappy. And then when they go into the convenience store,
But it was still grainy.
it was still.
And I'm not knocking
You
it.
can't not have early 2000s India.
I'm not knocking the look of it. It just when I said that when we started this off and I said it felt like a 90s movie with the look and the quality of grainy blown out, that's not a negative. That's just what it looked like. That's
Right.
what I got. That's the impression I got. So I'm on board with you with that. I'm not.
Yeah.
That's fine. That works. I will say this, since I meant to bring it up when we were talking about the DVD. I thought this was interesting. This has nothing to do with the movie. So in 2005, when this movie came out on DVD, there was $16.3 billion in DVD sales. It was DVDs were 64% of the U.S. home video market. So 2005 is the peak of DVD sales. Peak DVD. And now they're non-peak.
I still buy my Blu-rays.
Well, you would see this movie. This would be like a Netflix premiere or a, you know what I mean? This would be on.
Nowadays,
on the wheel. Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
For sure.
Well, where was this? This was on Prime, right? Yeah, this is on Prime Video, so you can rent it on Prime.
I could say, Amazon Prime does a lot of those indie kind of movies as well. It sucks them up. I've noticed on there. If you go through their search engine, you look for them.
The poster's a little misleading here. She never does this in the movie. She has an alarm clock over her eyes that say 11:14.
Yeah, there's nothing about an alarm clock in this whole movie.
So there's in the scene when Sherry has intercourse with Aaron in the
graveyard.
In the graveyard.
Where most people do have intercourse.
I would imagine that there are plenty of teenage boys and probably disgusting old men watching that movie going, all right, because it is a little, there's no nudity, but it is suggestive. But the comment that I made to Mike before we started talking about that was like, yeah, that's fine. That's a fine scene. No problem. That guy's disgusting.
Oh yeah.
The guy that she's with, I'm sure he's a lovely fellow. And I know he recently passed away, but like in the movie, he looks like a dirtbag. And it's just like, why would you be with this dirtbag?
An ugly dirtbag who hits her, apparently.
Yeah. I got that too. He says that. So it hits you again.
So just take the money. I don't understand. I understand why she wanted the money, but then like, I don't understand why she like had sex with him to begin with. Like,
well, again, that goes to character development,
right?
But, she had sex with him so that he could die, so that thing could fall on his head.
Happen, yeah. I just didn't understand maybe that part of it, or if they switched like maybe Duffy's character and Aaron's, and Duffy was more the nice guy.
If they should,
she really tries to screw over the nicer of her two boyfriends.
It would have been. Well, they're both. I didn't get that from Duffy being like somebody who was a quote unquote nice guy.
Well,
but it would have been a better. I think it would have been a better choice, or more. I shouldn't say better. A more interesting choice if Duffy was, and just because my daughter's reading The Outsiders right now, was a Soch kind of character, was somebody who was preppy and you know what I mean, like a nice kid, and
right.
You know, and he wasn't somebody that, and he needed to rob the convenience store, but he never did anything like that before. You wouldn't get that idea from that, him being that kind of person.
I kind of got the idea he's never robbed a convenience store.
Yeah, but
before.
he's also not like his character is more somebody who is outside the law, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Like every single character in this film is kind of supposed to be that way,
except Hilary Swank. But then why did she completely just gave it up? Yeah, I'm part of it.
She said she doesn't lie. She explained that so many times that she's just going to tell the truth no matter what. So when she's presented with the cop and he's like, "Can you look at him? Because I think you did that." She just goes, "Yeah." Like she can't. Like, yeah, you got me. So I love that scene where she's like, "Shoot me!" Not in the arm. She's pinching the arm. I'm like, while I was watching that, I was like, I know what our commercial for this movie is going to be.
I'm going to shoot you in the arm.
Yep.
Interesting.
Do it, Field. Come on. Got to make it look like an accident.
God damn it, I can't fucking do it. It's the worst idea you ever had.
No, you have to do this.
I can't do it.
As my friend, just do it. I want you to do it. Just make it quick before I think.
All right. Do it on 3, okay?
Yeah. 3.
Right.
3.
You ready?
Yeah.
1. Oh my God, I'm so fucking sorry.
You said on 3.
I thought you might flinch. I didn't want to hit the phone.
I know I don't like to do this. I hate referencing this, but when we were doing the research for this. I think it has like a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. Is that right?
It's got a high percent.
Yeah, I think people like it, and you know that's fine. Like I said,
I almost want to go, like you said, this might be one of the earlier ones of these vignette that we keep saying, oh, it's been done so many times.
Sure, no, I get
and
you.
You said like that. Well, I didn't think about it that way. Like I'd want to go back and see like some of the other movies, like Crash and Traffic came before this.
They did.
Or like the movie I saw,
Very Bad Things,
Surveillance, which I saw on HBO. Which
I'll say that Very Bad Things was 98.
Okay,
but that's not really a that's not really a vignette kind of movie. That just meant like the idea of bad things happen and you have to the consequences of that.
Right. Yeah.
I want to say that Colin Hanks was in a movie where he's the bad guy, where he is spying on people, where he's using like hidden cameras and he's spying on somebody in her room or something like that. Oh, wait a minute. I think it's this. I think it's Alone with Her. Yes. Quiet but disturbed young man puts a life of a woman he's obsessed with under a virtual microscope when he installs hidden cameras throughout our house. That's from 2006. But yeah, Colin Hanks was in that. He plays this like creep who is just spying on this girl in her house, and it's done through the surveillance cameras that he installed. I did not like that movie, but I do. That movie's an hour and 18 minutes. But yeah, so that whole concept has been out there before, but in terms of vignettes and whatnot. Yeah, no, I mean, you could be right. Maybe if this came before a lot of the other ones, you know, it's probably unfair for me to say, oh, this wasn't done right. I don't want to. I don't not like this movie. This movie's it was fine. It was fine to watch. I didn't have a problem watching it.
Right.
Watching in one sitting. It wasn't Uptown Girl. So you know that was not a problem for me. I just came away with the overall idea of what's it about. Like I said, and if someone says like it doesn't have to be about anything, shut up, Field, and go, okay, fine. That's a fine argument. I'm just arguing the other side where I want to know like what exactly am I supposed to get out of this movie?
It doesn't have a good punchline at the end. I don't think it doesn't have this. Okay, that's what this all was about. Maybe you're right. Maybe they did think it was a mystery, and I never got that from the film. And maybe that whole thing, 11/14, that's why. Okay. Well, and it just wasn't a good reveal.
Do you think that? Oh, did I cut you off?
I would just
go ahead.
I've already made the point that it needs to go past 11/14. I get that everything intersects at 11/14. Go past that and end it with your theme or what the movie's about and the consequences of their actions. And they don't do that.
Do you think that a movie needs to have a character that you need to root for?
No. Because you can have, and I'm not saying this movie does.
It doesn't.
But you can have, it does not have a good character you can root for. But maybe I rooted for the dog a little bit.
That's not a character. Was the dog listed in the 14 people credits I listed?
No, he should have though. Well, you can have a story that's interesting enough where it doesn't matter. But
that's what I'm asking you.
Really, really hard to get to that point.
All right. Well, you know, my next question is going to be,
what's that?
Give me a movie that doesn't have a character that you don't root for, has no characters in it that you root for. That was good. And then
Natural Born Killers.
Okay. You kind of do root for them though. Well, they're anti-heroes.
They suck. They're bad people.
Yeah, but they are. But you
From Dusk Till Dawn.
You don't root for the kids?
No, I rooted for George Clooney, and he's a terrible human being.
But okay, that's fine. Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, there should be a character within the story that you somehow find that you're quote unquote rooting for, like whether it's the anti-hero, like in the show Mad Men, Don Draper. Don Draper's not a great guy, you know, but he's a flawed guy.
Right, he's a flawed character.
Breaking Bad with Walter White. I mean, he's obviously a terrible guy.
You're supposed to root for Jesse, though, I think, because he's kind of
you
as
end
he's
up
getting bad.
You end up right, and I know we're gonna get off on tangent, but that's fine. When I first watched Breaking Bad and I watched the whole thing through, I liked it, and I like Walter White and stuff like that. But then when the rewatch, because we watched it again, because we wanted to watch the El Camino movie, you realize that Jesse Walter White does so many bad things to his family, to Jesse, all for the same. And he comes to that realization at the end of the movie where he did it because he wanted to and he liked it and he wanted power over his life, like Walter White. I'm talking about his
Right.
character. He comes to that realization, but you don't. In the second rewatch, you don't realize just how bad he is to Jesse, how bad he treats him and controls him. So that when you do watch El Camino, it's almost like you're happy that you see Jesse's life come full circle and he's moved on and he's going to go, you want to believe that he's going to go live a great life and find happiness and find joy and move beyond all that. So I understand in that regard. I get what you're saying. Back to this in 11:14, you could make the case that, I'm supposed to root for Patrick Swayze, but Patrick Swayze is a parent who has no control over his daughter and just lets her do whatever she wants.
You do. Yeah. You get that sense. And he even says, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah. And Barbara Hershey's clearly clueless about what what her kid is doing. Yeah. I know you're supposed to feel for them because their daughter has just been killed in an accident, but they're not.
They created that.
Yeah. They've created this character.
She's a monster.
Right.
She's not a good person.
She doesn't become this way because the parents are perfect, are doing because the parents are just neglectful or don't want to deal with it or just assume, turn a blind eye, don't try to get involved, whatever. That's just a different conversation. But in this movie, it's really tough to find one person that you want to root for. Maybe Buzzy, maybe Hilary Swank's character, because you feel bad for her because she says yes.
Right.
But it's $1,800. I mean, she doesn't want to do it, but she feels bad. So if she's guilty of anything, it's just she's guilty of helping out her friend, even though she's going to split the take.
Yeah.
But
and the take is to help her sister.
Right. But still,
I'd say Tim also is a little sympathetic in that he's the friend that doesn't want to lose his friends, but he doesn't, I don't think, really enjoy what his friends do. Mm-hmm. Although he does burn those books, but he kind of gets into it.
But this is what I'm saying, and this is to your point as well. You want more beyond 11:14. You want more to this movie.
Yeah.
Because you've shown these characters. You know what? How about this? Let me put it this way. You've created the setting for all these characters. You showed the conflict that has happened to them. You showed but you don't really have a resolution to their lives, to the choices that they've made within this night ever.
Right. A lot of them don't have stopping points.
Right.
Like Buzzy and Duffy get arrested, but like you said, you see them run out of the car.
Right.
The kids in the van, they all go off toward the hospital.
Quote unquote to get away, but you know that
they don't stop. Yeah, they don't stop at 11:14. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe if they all stopped at 11:14 and we didn't see them continue on, we wouldn't need as much of a resolution.
Well, what we were saying, you hear that he gets a call over the radio that says the description of the van was a blue van.
Right.
You know where that is going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there isn't. I think you make a good point, and to that point that this movie needs more because it needs to. You can't just introduce these characters, have stuff happen to them, and then be like, "Yep, that's it. You don't need to know what else happens." Like, no, we kind of want to know the consequences of what their actions were. We need to know the consequences of the kids in the car and their actions. Getting his penis chopped off the window is not part of that.
Yeah,
the whole thing where Tim comes out of this nice house and he's supposed to be. You get the idea that he's a good kid, and he comes out of the house and they're going to do some bad stuff, but you don't get any kind of consequence or retribution from his parents or from what he
leaves the car, risks getting shot by Duffy. They don't know who Duffy is. They don't know. Yeah. They know who Duffy is, but they don't know if Duffy's still going to is he going to still get shot at. Like, he goes out and kind of becomes the only hero to the story in a way.
Yeah.
And I guess you can make the argument that Frank is defending his daughter, but he doesn't get rewarded. He doesn't get punished. It's not like.
And the EMTs have seen Tim. They know what Tim looks like.
Yeah, so Tim's going to get punished because he went up against the EMTs because he tried to help his friend.
Right. There's stuff that was left off the table here that both of us would probably appreciate to see more of. And maybe that would have probably responded to this movie a little bit more favorably, just as you, because of that, because there was more of a completion. Maybe that's kind of where I'm hung up on. There was just an incompletion of the storylines that kind of bugged me a little bit. And it was just like, ooh, we ended 11:14. Life blows. Credits.
The movie that I kept coming back to, and maybe because I love it so much, is Trick or Treat with the vignettes.
Good movie. But that's a really good movie.
That is a fantastic movie.
So if you want to, that's you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. That movie's done right. That movie's done well. Those are complete stories.
Complete stories within vignettes that still intersect.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And they still come together at you end at the beginning of the film, technically.
Yeah. But you also have reveals there with the school reveals. Bus and what's going on there. You have all that stuff.
Just like the body coming down at the beginning of this film.
Yep.
And the end of that film being 11:14 happening. Mm-hmm. You never feel like you've got the complete story, but in Trick or Treat, you get everyone's characters have finished. They have ended. they've come to their natural conclusion for the night.
Good.
Even Sam's story comes to an end for the night. He's punished the people that need to be punished,
Right.
or he's taught them their lesson.
Mhm.
And again, there's no lessons to be learned.
Well, that's Michael Dougherty's really good writer and a good director.
Mhm.
But I will say, and he was responsible for Trick or Treat. Those who don't know.
And Krampus, which we did
And
an
Krampus,
episode.
which we both like Krampus quite a bit, which we did an episode, as Mike said, in a commercial. So anyways, but I will say this movie's not, even though we're kind of sitting here picking and critiquing it, and, you know, maybe it's perceived as being negative, I don't think this movie was bad enough where Greg Marks didn't deserve another shot.
No, I was surprised.
I'm surprised that this is, if this was your first movie, this is a good jumping off point. What else you got? Put him. I mean, and who knows? Who knows what happened after this with personalities or anything like that? But I mean, you couldn't give him a $20 million movie with, you know, with somebody wrote another script, or. But I don't think that this movie was so bad. We're like, don't ever make a movie again.
For a first-time director that didn't even do music videos before this,
Yeah, sure.
this is like really good for like a
Yeah.
first-time director. I was also surprised that his credits were so short. When I was filling in the notes of like what they've done on our sheet, I was like, nothing.
Yeah, I know. I would have seen. I mean, it definitely deserved. We definitely deserved another IP.
Unless maybe he just didn't enjoy
Maybe
making this film. There's not a lot of notes about like the
It's
making
his-
of this movie.
Would you not enjoy making a movie that you wrote? Oh, maybe he got picked, and maybe he got picked. And who knows? I don't want to. I don't want to guess about stuff that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
But all I will say is that I don't think this was so terrible enough where Marks wouldn't be able to get another movie. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, clearly it was forgotten because it's 2003, never came out in theaters.
Well, that's why I forgot. It didn't come out anywhere. It came out on home video, 2005. So somebody probably found it. Maybe Chris Frodell found it, for $3.97 in the Walmart bin. Watched it or saw it one night on Cinemax.
This is something
saw the Rachael Leigh Cook scene in the graveyard and was like, I should watch this whole movie.
I'd say if this came on in like 2003 or 4 when I was in high school and I was on HBO or Cinemax and the Rachael Leigh Cook scene was on, teenage me would go, all right, when is this movie on again? Because I got to finish the movie.
I would assume that teenage you would pause it and then would go to the bathroom for a quick second.
There's no pausing on TV back
Oh,
then.
that's right. So you would have just done it right there. Okay. Disgusting.
But
disgusting.
This is your story, not mine.
That's not my story. That's yours.
saying I
You just
pause
said
it.
teenage me, and we all know what teenage you would do if you saw that.
But
Yeah, where do you go from
where was I going? I had a point.
Were you thinking of that moment when it happened? Dude, gross.
So nowadays, this would go on Amazon Prime, Netflix, like we've said,
6-episode series,
which we've talked about before. It's tough to watch these films on those platforms because there's just so much. It's not curated well. You don't get those like end cap aisles. Back in the day, Mr. Frodell might have seen this on an end cap in a video store.
I always talk about the Blue Moon end cap where you had Doll Man and Puppet Masters, and I hear you.
And that's probably why. It's because you don't have those people going, you should watch this. You don't have, Greg from Amazon Prime says this is a really good movie, or Stacy from Amazon Prime says this is one. And you don't get these like top staff member picks. And I think that would be a really good.
Well, I think that Forgotten Cinema should have some picks up there for us. We should have our own little reel going on Netflix or Forgotten Cinema or for
picks you
Prime.
should watch.
Yeah, why not? Let's
Things
go.
that, like I scouted through. Absolutely. I'm okay with that.
Get on that.
Because this is a film that deserves to be watched because it isn't awful. It's well made for a first film. It's got some good pieces to it, and
this is a movie that people would suggest to other people if they, you want to see a really cool movie that no one ever heard of.
Yeah,
try this. Yeah, sure. That's what this whole podcast is about.
I understand.
And we're crapping. No, we're not crapping. But yeah, no, I hear you. No, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Nice job.
No, thank you.
All right, so we're gonna still keep going with our season 5 suggestions. We have 3 more episodes?
4 more
10, 11, 12,
episodes.
13, 10, 11, 12, 13, 4 more episodes. So join us next week. We'll be talking about the 1992 comedy Folks, starring Tom Selleck and Don Amici. This was suggested to us by Stephen Christina Jr. from Super Retro Throwback Reviews. We were on their podcast a while ago. I remember this movie, but I did not see this movie. So it'll be interesting next week. I'll see how I react to it.
I have never seen this movie. I've actually seen a lot of the movies on this list.
Well, that's good though, because we're watching movies that's fun. And whether, like I said, whether we like it or don't like it, or whether we're negative or positive, it's not really about that. It's more about you sharing it with us.
Mhm.
And, it's good that it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about the conversation and just talking about movies. And so even though I know that we talked about Uptown Girls and that we kind of ripped it a little, but still with respect. And I don't know where I was going with that, but I just wanted to, throw that out there that, we're not the end all be all of any kind of film criticism here. We're just talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
That's why we don't give them a letter grade or a star rating.
Right.
We're not Roger Ebert. And even he wrote you can say you like or don't like, but don't give it thumbs up. Don't give it 5 or 4 stars.
Right. That's when I was a wee young teenager back in the late 80s, early 90s, or early 90s, because that's when I started working in the theater in 93. We would always, at the end of the year, we'd always do like grades for movies. Oh, A, B, A. Everyone would do it. Oh, they're top 10 for the year.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point because then that's when I started getting into writing and started getting into filmmaking and creating the stories and actually getting on the other side of that, of the screen, as you will. I did less and less of these are the best movies of the year. These are my favorite films. This is a movie I really like. It was more about, it's more personalized. It's more, I can tell you that, I like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. I like that movie. I know people don't like it, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean I can't have a conversation about it, or it doesn't mean, there's some people you can't. There's some people that are still hung up on, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, but
it's fine if you think it's the worst movie you've ever seen, but it's tough to have a conversation with somebody that's their only sentence about it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell me you don't like a movie. You can tell me, I don't like Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull because it's so stupid that he would survive a nuclear blast. And it's like, well, okay. My response to you would be that it's a suspension of disbelief, number one. But number two, it also gives you the most iconic moment in the franchise when he's standing there in the mushroom clouds, kind of the future and he's in the past, kind of a moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, and you could be like, I guess, but still, that's called having a conversation about a movie. That's not
instead
called
of being nope,
right,
nope.
Right, exactly. So if you find people that are like that, don't talk to them about movies. But if you find people like us that just like talking about the films, hang around. We'll talk about anything.
That's right.
It could be the worst movie. It could be the movie that we really don't like, but we're not gonna,
Hell, we did an hour on Uptown Girls.
We did. All right, we survived that, and we hope that Burker Fanar has not left us as a viewer or as a listener. But anyways, I'll get off my soapbox now. So join us next week, folks. Super Retro Throwback Review. Stephen Christina Jr. has suggested it. We will return and we'll talk about it, and we'll have so much fun. And Mike's going to tell you where you can kind of find us.
That's right. So if you like this episode, if you're just catching us now, you can see all of our past and present episodes on ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. We have all 5 seasons now of the show.
Woo!
That's right. You can also find our merch store on our website where you can find a whole bunch of fun stuff that you can purchase and show your love for Forgotten Cinema. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Forgotten Cinema Pod. Tweet us. Instagram us, message us, email us at forgottencinemapodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what movies you'd like us to do. Just because this whole season is audience choice doesn't mean we don't pepper it in to all of our other seasons as well. So let us know. We'll put it on the list. We will get to your movie eventually. Anybody who recommended movies to us previously for this season, we haven't forgotten about you. They're on our list as well. We'll pepper them as we go.
Pun intended.
And just let us know what you think about the movies as well. We'd love to hear from you. Like you said, we love to have conversations about movies.
Oh, yeah. If you see one of our posts and you reply, hey, I like that movie, we'll talk. It's all right. It's basically me. Butler has some kind of, he doesn't like being online, doesn't like being on social media. So it's up to me. But you're talking to me usually. So even my favorite is I'm really, I think I'm self-deprecating as well. So I just love the fact that I rip on myself online and people are like, oh, funny. It's like, I'm talking about myself, right? So anyway, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next week. I am Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.